Good morning. Well, I just too want to say how grateful that Connie and Marguerite and I are that you have opened up your spiritual home, as you talked about with the plant, to us, and more importantly, opened your hearts to the work that we have all been doing together. So lots and lots of gratitude for the good work that has been done. So I am part of your regional staff. My name is Kathy McGowan, and I am part of the regional staff for our Unitarian Universalist Association. So I, along with Connie and some wonderful other colleagues, have the great honor of serving this denomination through all of the southern region, from west of Texas to the Atlantic Ocean, to the middle of Virginia, Fredericksburg, all the way down to Mexico and the Virgin Islands. So it's a big territory, but we do it together with love, and it really is an honor to serve the faith in this way. So thank you. So what some of you may not know is that this is the third time I have been in this pulpit. So I thought it might be good to remind us kind of what we've talked about before, so you know where I'm coming from. And for the newcomers, you'll catch on really quick. So when Connie started with the sermon back in February, I think it was, she talked about our Unitarian Universalist faith and who we are as a people. And let me remind you, she talked about our values, and she did that through talking about the 5 smooth stones of liberal religion. Is this ringing a bell? James Luther Adams took a Bible story and took our values, and we talk about them as our 5 smooth stones. And it's very alive today in our denomination, particularly in the southern region. So we have the stone of love, hope, courage, justice, and joy. Can we all buy into those values? Then Connie proceeded to talk about the 3 pillars of our faith. So she reminded us that we are a covenantal faith, not a creedal faith, that we are pluralistic, not fundamentalistic, and that we are a living faith, because one of our values is that revelation is open and continuous. So that brings us back to our 5 smooth stones. There is reason for great hope because revelation is open and continuous. So then kind of the next visit that we kind of went more deeply into what it means to be a covenantal, not creedal faith. So it's not a dogma that we sign up for as Unitarian Universalists, but it's how we live our life together, our covenants, our promises of how we are going to be in relationship that we hold most dear. That is what is at the center of our faith, is our covenants. And we also talked about at the end of the sermon last time how even though we are a covenantal faith, it's not all about us. But we come to our congregations and our sanctuaries to learn how it is in a safe place that we can practice our being in the world. It's safe here so that we can shore ourselves up to go back out to not such a safe place out in the world to do the good work of bringing our values of Unitarian Universalism to the world that so desperately needs it. And we even did a ritual last time of feeding one another to remind ourselves of how important it is to be fed, and that the world needs to be fed by our Unitarian Universalist values. So now what? Are we done? We know the faith, we know what we're supposed to do, so we're done, right? No. Now is actually the hard part. Now that we know who we are and we know how we're supposed to live and be, how do we do that? That's what I want to really touch on today. How do we live this faith, this covenantal faith with these wonderful values? How do we make it that living tradition? Well, we have to do it by living it for ourselves and being in community with others. And Terry talked about the wonderful home of the plant. And there is an evolution about us as a people. That's why it's a living tradition. We are not a sealed faith. Ours is a growing faith where we learn by our experiences and our relationships. That is just as valuable to us as any great book or any great teacher. It is how we are together and how the world reveals itself to us. So as we live our covenants, we have to always be mindful that we are changing. Even though we have our covenantal way of being, we have probably newcomers here today who don't know what the covenants of this congregation are. So how do we welcome them into the covenants that we hold so dear and that make up our congregational way of being? How do we welcome back our beloved minister who's been gone for a month?
What's her name?
What is her name, anyway? And as she said herself, you know more what's going on around here than she does at this point. That is so true. That is so true. So how do you welcome her back into the covenant, realizing that she's missed some stuff, and also realizing that she has some new stuff, that she may not be the exact same person as she was when she left here. So it's a time to recovenant and say, how are we going to be together again? And that's a reason to celebrate. Anytime we can go back and say, I value you enough to agree to promise to be good with you and in right relationship. This is at the heart of our faith. And I love this faith so much, I can barely stand it sometimes. And one of the reasons is because we're a covenantal faith, because I think that's really cool. And you know, there's that song called Come, Come Again, Whoever You Are. And there's this beginning part that we talked about last time I was here. It comes from a Sufi poem. And the words are, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, come, yet again come. And that's to me a covenant song. Because though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, we get to come back into covenant. I think that's really cool. And that's why I love this faith so much. That's one of the core reasons. So it's a time to celebrate bringing Terre back into relationship with you all. And that was a time for you to reflect as well on how you are going to be in relationship with one another. So that brings me to the core of what I want to talk about today, is that the best way we can help people be in covenant with us, especially new people who may not understand our covenantal way of being, is to be trustworthy so that they may trust you. And there is a bit of trust that we have created this covenant of how we are going to be as a congregation. Trust us, this is going to work. Come into this covenant with us. We promise you we will uphold the covenant on our end, and we'll teach you how to do it with us. So in order for people to be trusting enough, we have to feel trust in ourselves and be trustworthy. So I want to talk a little bit today about trust. The past couple of weekends that the leadership and many of you have been with us working with the congregation, we've showed a video about trust. It's really been one of our focuses. And it's a video of a woman called Brene Brown. Do you know Dr. Brown? She's pretty popular now she's a speaker. I had her bio here somewhere. I neglected to bring it, but you could Google her. She's pretty great. She's a social psychologist, I believe I've got that title right, and an author and an activist and a whole bunch of other things. But she coined this phrase called braving. Braving connection is her point. In order to connect, we have to be trusting and trustworthy. So she has broken braving down into an acronym. So the B of braving is for boundaries. So we have to be clear about our boundaries and hold our boundaries tightly. And just as we expect others to hold their boundaries and stay true to them, there is not trust without proper boundaries. R, B-R. The R is for reliability. How many of you have had that neighbor who said they'd help out, but did they ever really follow through with that? So the reliability piece, in order to be trustworthy, I have to know I can count on you. And not just count on you once, but when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it over and over and over again. I can rely on you, and you can rely on me. That's the R for reliability. The A is for accountability. I am going to be held accountable for things that I am responsible for. And I am going to hold you accountable to the things that you say you are accountable for. I need to know that I can trust you, that if you make a mistake, you will accept ownership of that mistake and make amends for that mistake. Just as you can count on me to own up to it when I've made a mistake and be willing to make amends so that we can come back together and be trustworthy together. Accountability. V is for the vault. She talks about the vault. And the vault is very much that if you tell me something in confidence, it is put in the vault of our relationship. And that I will keep that confidence and not share it with another. Does that make sense to you all? The vault? And also there's the other side of the vault, is that if I share something with you, I need to know that you will keep that in your vault so that you will not share it with another. That sounds so easy, but it's really easy just to tell that one person, that one thing, and then they could tell that one person another thing. But that is not the vault, because it's not your story to tell. If you were telling a story that someone else has given to you, they now know that you are not trustworthy if you tell another. I had a friend when I was younger and I was not as mature as I'd like to think I am now, let me put it that way. And I remember that she would tell me things about other people, and she would just things like, well, she's really suffering right now, X and so, this is going on in her life, that. And I would listen very carefully, and she's been entrusted with this, so I was like, well, wow, my friend is a really good friend to these other people too. And she would tell me, and I thought at the time, you know, she is really a good friend to me if she can really trust me with this information. But then I began to think about that. And I noticed all of the people she was close to felt that they were just as good a friend. So I was like, you know, she's probably telling my trusted things to others as well, and therefore they think they are a trusted friend, that she can share this information with them. So I realized this shared secrets is a way to create intimacy that made me trust her not quite as much as I got more mature into the relationship. Because one's actions toward me might be the way they are toward others. So I learned a lot about her by her actions when she told me another person's story. So that was my life lesson of learning the complexities of that vault. Then she talks about integrity. And this is really important for us in the covenant piece, because we have to be worthy of integrity and be able to hold ourselves to our own integrity in order to bring our best selves to that relationship that we covenant into. So integrity, when she talks about integrity, Brene Brown says that from a place of integrity, that is how we act. We choose courage over comfort, right over wrong, right over what is right, fun, fast, or easy, and practicing your values, not just professing them. So choosing courage over comfort, that's integrity. It takes a lot of courage to keep your own integrity strong, especially I find in the United States culture. Now granted, that's the only one I really know really well, but I find in our culture it is really hard to keep my center of integrity when the entire world is saying you really don't have to. When Facebook is being mean and taking, and what is the new term? Not false truth, what is it? That's what I call it. Fake news, right? Alternative facts, right? So I find that it's harder and harder to choose to choose the courageous thing of integrity over the comfort of going on and agreeing with everything that is happening on my Facebook feed. But that's what keeps us strong, and that's where our value of courage really can come in, to hold us steadfast to who we are so that we are bringing our best selves into our relationships. So that's the I for integrity. So we've got B, boundaries, R, reliability, A, accountability, V, the vault, I for integrity. We got 2 more to go. You ready? N, non-judgment. How many of you can say you walk through your life every day in a non-judgmental way? It's really hard. But that's the piece about trust, that I promise that if you tell me your story, I won't judge you for it. I won't sit here going, well, if she only... And also, I'm counting on you when I tell you my truth, you won't judge me for it. That is how we can be trusting with each other. And part of that is also the ability to ask for help when we need it. I need to be able to know that I'm not going to be judged. And I find this particularly difficult for women. Again, maybe that's because I'm a woman. But I find it difficult for us to say, I need help. I can't do it by myself. And I need to know that you are not going to judge me. But it also means that you have to be willing to say when you need help as well. And I'm not here to save you, and I'm not here to judge you. We all are human beings. So me being able to give help only when asked, and to be able to ask for help when needed without judgment. And finally, the G, one of my favorite words to talk about, generosity. If we could all just live every day with generosity, generosity of spirit, generosity of self, generosity of community, it would be such a better world. But the way Brené Brown really talks about generosity, what she says is that we are generous before we are even reaching out to another person. We are generous in assuming good intentions from every interaction that we have. Isn't that lovely? If we start from a place of at least neutrality, of not saying they want something from me, what are they going for, what's their scheme, what's their angle, but to be able to say, I'm assuming that you have the best of intentions as you enter into this relationship with me. And that's one way we can be trustworthy, and that's one way we can give others our trust, is I'm going to assume that you're entering into this conversation with me with all of the best intentions. Boundaries, reliability, accountability, the vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. Does that work for you? Can you think of a relationship where there was trust? Where you really felt like you could trust that person? Were they reliable? Did they have a clear sense of their boundaries? That's your stuff. That's not my stuff. Were they accountable? Reliable? Did they judge you? And were they generous? Trust. It's a simple word, but the complexities of it are many and much. So I encourage you to look up Brené Brown. If this strikes you, it was important to a lot of the people that we've been working with for the last few months. Because I think that is at the heart of how do we invite people into covenant. We have to be worthy of holding that covenant. We have to be trusting so that others may trust us. So it begins with us, but it's how we create the beloved community. If we are worthy of trust, people want to come. Healthy groups encourage healthy people to come in. It's very inviting. People like to be with other people who they can trust. And isn't that at the heart of love? The generosity of spirit, the love. So I'd like to do a little experiment with you right now to begin to feel a little bit of trust. Are you willing to take a risk with me this morning? So I'd like you to find a partner, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. I hope you can trust me to go with me on this. We're going to find a partner, and we're going to do a little ritual. So you're going to say to them, I open my heart to you. And then the other person says back, I open my heart to you. And then you're going to look in each other's eyes for 10 seconds. I know this is really scary. I know that. I'm asking you to trust me and go with it and take a risk. And then after the 10 seconds, I'll let you know when the time is up. And then I would like you to say to each other, I see you. Are you willing to go along with me? Find your partners.
Would you be my partner? Yes. Let me see if somebody's without a partner first.
Okay, good idea. They're making it work. Is there anybody without a partner? Raise your hand. Terry will be your partner. Anybody without a partner? Everybody got a partner? I'm going to ask you first to take a nice big deep breath.
Okay.
And look each other in the eye and each say, I open my heart to you.
I open my heart to you.
And look each other in the eye. And say, I see you.
I see you.
Okay, that's over. Wow. Boy, 10 seconds is a long time, isn't it? Was that uncomfortable? Was that comfortable? Was it weird? Was it just plain weird? I often say to the congregations that I'm working with, the first rule is don't freak them out. Did I freak you out? Yeah. We so often don't even look each other in the eye. Because that is such intimacy. It really is risky. But in order to be trusting with one another, don't we need to see each other? I think kind of that's where it begins. And to be able to say, I see you. Because so many of us don't feel seen in so many places of our life. Wouldn't it be nice to be seen in our congregation? I think that's really where trust begins. Is it seeing each other, acknowledging each other for just the way you are, just the way you are. I think that's where it begins. Braving so that we can be connecting with one another. That's what Brene Brown says. So I have a blessing for you. May we be trusting so that we may be trustworthy. Can I get an amen? Amen. May it be so.